this next video comes from us from good old Braden, who actually reached out to me to react to this video. Personally, they actually emailed me and asked me to react to them. So I just put the video in the Twitch chat up on the right over here. For you guys on YouTube, it'll be down in the description below. They sent this to me and wanted me specifically to review this, so it would mean a lot to me if you actually liked and subscribed to the video, especially since they did go through the effort of doing that, especially. So yeah, this video is about the love-hate and relationship with a killer-sided game, which is, I still think the game is 4-man Swift-sided. I think 4-man comms is still the strongest thing in the game, but I definitely think the gap between killer and survivor is the shortest it's ever been. So, especially when you're talking about like some of the stronger killers in the game, like the top 5. Oh yeah. So, yeah. Go ahead and get started.
Hey, what's going on, guys? So I know this is a big change of pace from the usual just gameplay clips that I put out. You can actually see the ugly mug behind it this time.
You're not ugly.
But
you're not ugly.
This is a video that I've been wanting to make for a while now. I'm just now kind of getting around to it. And I'm going to put some gameplay up here in a moment, so don't worry, you ain't got to look at me for long.
You're fine.
Anyway,
that's a handsome dude.
Something that is pretty controversial, and I know from the title of this video that, I'm gonna be called everything under the sun, man. But look, I don't care. You guys can call me what you want. This is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a little while now. So let's get into it. Okay, so now when I say a killer-sided game, I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, oh, this guy's just going to talk about how, the killers are overpowered and it's not fair and he can't win.
That's what a lot of people do.
And so on. But that's not the case. That's not what I'm here to get on about. When I say killer-sided game, directly what I mean is killers complaining about so many things, so much stuff over the years that survivors have had, things that we used to be able to do that we no longer are able to do those things, or the things that we can still do, they've been nerfed down to almost nothingness.
Yeah, so like the 6.1 chapter update needed to happen. The big perk shake-up needed to happen. Old Dead Hard, stupid. Old DS Unbreakable, stupid, right? Like, things that shouldn't be in the game. Things that were quite literally turning L's to W's based solely on bringing those perks into the game. But I do agree that they went a little too far in a lot of places, like DS specifically. They over-nerfed DS. DS, like, there's no good anti-tunnel in the game left, which is why tunneling is such a problem now. It's because there's no anti-tunnel left. And I'll say this because this is always the response I get whenever I bring up tunneling. If you're tunneling at like 2 or 3 gens or less to just win the game, I'm not talking to you. Okay? Like, I'm looking at, like, look at me. Look at me. Come on. We're two people. We're two humans. Totally reasonable, understandable people. Look at me. If you're tunneling at like 3 or less gens, you're just trying to win the game. Like, is it still irritating? Yeah, but like, you're just trying to win. I'm not talking to you right now. So you don't have to leave me a 4-page message below the YouTube video telling me like, well, what am I supposed to do against really good survivors? Like, I'm telling you right now, tunnel them. Do it. I'm talking to people that out the gate 4 or 5 gens trying to make it a comp game right as quick as possible. That's what I'm saying. Just making that clarification.
Now,
yeah, that is also dumb, Chloe. Spine Chill being
to show you.
And Spine Chill doesn't even do anything else either. Like, Spine Chill isn't even a chase perk anymore because you don't even get the vault speed. So it's like, it's literally just an accessibility perk and that's it. They just destroyed that perk.
How the killers have constantly complained and gotten their way. The first thing I want to talk about, and these are in no particular order, and this is also not all killers. Not every single killer is to blame for this. But what I'm going to get at here is, the first things first, features and things that survivors used to be able to do that we can't no more. Look at the killer shacks. You go far enough back, and there was no 2-door killer shacks. It was a 1-door killer shack with the 1 window.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another thing about that is, with that 1 window, we used to be able to have a thing as survivors where, instead of how it is now, where you have to speed vault at a window, you got to be running toward pretty much straight on at the window and be running at it at least for a second to be able to get that speed vault. Otherwise, it forces you into a slow vault. Back then, that wasn't a thing. You could just be standing next to that window in that 1-door killer shack, that killer comes through that doorway, and you could just be standing perfectly still and just speed vault that window onto the other side.
Yeah, which is kind of silly.
They try
though.
to go around the outside, you just speed vault back in.
It's kind of silly though.
The combination
I don't think they
of
should have that.
this led to just insanely strong positioning for the survivor.
Okay, good.
And you know, and we agreed. You know, me and my group, we agree. You know, this was something that was, you know, very overpowered and definitely needed to be changed.
Yep.
Now another thing is the pallet vacuum. I know some of you who were around that time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The pallet vacuum was such a thing that instead of how it is now, where you'd have to run all the way through to the other side of the pallet to be able to drop it, as soon as you get close enough to the pallet, you would have the button prompt, you press it, you zoom right on through to the other side and drop the pallet.
Yeah, yeah, it would vacuum to it.
That is a thing that we can no longer do. Another thing that we had, and that was removed because it was complained about, was for your exhaustion perks. We all know now that you have to either be standing still or just walking to have your exhaustion go down. You know, at level 3 it takes 40 seconds. Before, you used to be able to use your exhaustion perk in the chase, and if you were able to outlast the killer during those 40 seconds while you're being chased, your exhaustion is still going down even while you're running. And after 40 seconds, you would get your exhaustion perk back.
Yeah, but this game isn't about one person loop the killer for 5 gens. If you can do that, that's great. But the game is like a 4v1. It's a 4v1. If you have 3 people on a team, just the whole match, just like not interact with the killer at all, they're just missing part of the gameplay, right? So like more interactivity among the two sides is always going to be more healthy than like a 1v1 where the other 3 players are just present and doing the bare minimum.
Yeah. Killers complained about that and said it wasn't fair, but in my eyes, I believe it was fair. You know, if you want to take Dead Hard, for example.
I feel like you can have the conversation of whether it's fair or not, but is it good for the game or not? I don't think it was good for the game. Because like I just said, it's a 4v1 situation. So that's essentially you kind of like, I'm just going to do all the looping, and the other 3 people are essentially just little NPCs to do my generators. That's essentially what it is. Like I'm going to do all the looping, and you three just do my gens for me, and we'll all get out, right? Like, ideally, I would want to do most of the game. If I'm playing the game, I want to play all of the game and not just one section of the game. So that's why stuff like that is added to the game, because they want to have more interactivity among the two sides and not just like a 1v1 that the other 3 players are just present for.
And this is what I mean.
Yeah, the rationale, of course, is that like if they're that bad to chase that long, you should be able to double punish them. But like that, like once again, that's just not how that should work, right? Like from a fairness perspective of like, do they deserve it? Yeah, like of course they deserve to be further dunked on because they played so badly initially. But like from a gameplay perspective, like I said, do you really want a game where it's just a 1v1 that the other 3 players are just present for? That doesn't sound too fun to me.
First off, for a killer, if you're chasing somebody, especially if they started out healthy, if you're chasing a healthy survivor, let's say you chase them for 10, 20 seconds.
And this is also talking about the fact that, like, you know, especially since this is a player that a veteran player that's played for a really long time, sometimes setups cause really long chases. It's not even always killer error. Sometimes really bad setups cause, like Guard of Joy is infamous for that. Guard of Joy spawns some really busted setups, like having that long wall into the parking lot, like that. If you get a long wall jungle gym with the window facing that parking lot, you could get so much time out of that loop, and it's not even necessarily the killer's fault. That's just a very, very strong and busted setup. So like, imagine like you're in that situation where they're looping a really, really busted setup. That's not your fault that it's even that busted to begin with. It's just a map spawn, and then like they get a double exhaustion because of that. Like that just doesn't, like, on the surface, yeah, it seems like at a glance it's like, well, they're looping bad, so we should be able to double punish them. But like, you know, in an asymmetrical game, sometimes them playing badly isn't really their fault because the map spawn or something else is affecting that, right?
Before you get your first hit, all right, you're going to continue chasing. Now they're injured. Take a few more seconds. Say now you're up to about 30 seconds, 30, 40 seconds before you're able to finally catch back up to them because they got to a safe spot or something. They dead hard. Now the chase is still going. if they're able to go on, if I'm able to keep going for another 40 seconds after dead harding, and you can't stop me, you can't catch me, and I'm able to outmaneuver you and stay away from you for another 40 seconds, in my eyes, I've earned that back.
We saw this today. I was looping. Remember the Grim Pantry match where I was playing Rebecca with the dredge? I looped that dredge up at the top of Grim Pantry just by using that one window for like 2 minutes, and he just held W at me, right? Like he just held W at me. I just kept vaulting, breaking chase. He wasn't trying to ready his power or anything. I just kept vaulting that window, keeping that distance. I had Lithe initially, so I have Lithe, I make it around, I break chase, so I get 4 vaults of that safe window that's right there. And then I start vaulting the double window on the other side of Grim Pantry, and then I go to the pallet. Like I kept him there for like 2 minutes, and he held W at me. So he was getting bloodlust, right? Besides the initial chase where I lost his chase by using Lithe and getting around the other side. Like after that, he was getting bloodlust. Like I kept him there for like 2 minutes. That's just a really, really strong structure. And if you know how to run it, it's very strong. So it's not always killer error, right? Sometimes it's just strong structures or strong setups.
I have earned my dead hard back. I should be able to use it again. But that was something that was complained about, and now we don't have it no more. Now another thing was...
I do want to, early on in this video, I want to say this. Because, you know, obviously if they personally sent this to me, they're like going to watch this. I want to say something to you right away, is that you are the majority side of the game. You are the primary player base for the game. Most people play Survivor. Most people don't play Killer. It's a 4v1. There is a lot more of the 4 than the 1. So, like, yes, more of your stuff is going to get adjusted because you're the primary player base. You're where most of the people are. So it's not necessarily that, like, behavior favors killers, because you know, you could have that argument of like, does behavior favor killers? Do they favor survivors? You can have that argument, but to say inherently they do favor killers because they adjust survivor stuff more, that's because there's more of you. Like you are the more populous part of the game, so that affects things on a way wider scale than the one killer in a 4-man situation, right? So that's why.
There used to not be no in-game collapse. And you also had the point where hatches, they couldn't be closed. So you would have a hatch standoff. Killers complained about this, and this would lead on to long times where the killer and survivor just be, you know, basically off each other, and nothing would ever happen.
Yeah.
They'd both be watching each other to see who's going to make the first move and capitalize on it. So me and my group, we've never had that issue. I had a situation with the pig on the Batham preschool map years ago. I was the last one. I snuck around. I found her in the middle of the street by the ambulance, and she had already found the hatch. She was camping the hatch, just looking around. I knew that I wasn't going to get that, so what I did was I went off, got another gen done, came back, checked. She was still sitting on it. I went and got a door, and I left. Now, granted that, you know, that situation, that ain't always going to be the case. But what I'm getting at is, while killers were complaining about the hatch standoff, maybe some of the survivors back then were too. I don't know. I really don't. But for me and my group, that was never an issue. We never did the hatch standoff. We just never dealt with it. Just
because you didn't do it does not mean other people didn't, right? Just because, like, this is something I say all the time, right? Like that was a perspective I used to have when I was like really new to the game. Was like just because like I didn't do these things didn't mean they weren't oppressive. Like that was my idea. I was like, if I didn't do it, it wasn't oppressive. But like even for example, current example is Eruption, old Eruption, and how strong that was with 25 seconds of incap. I never used it once, and the whole time that it was in its heyday. But no, that's not true. Yeah, we used it a couple times because of build requests, but I never willingly ran it ever. Yeah, because we had the Legion kick build that Ototo liked, so we did that a couple times, and then we had the Knight build with Eel that we did once. So yeah, but outside of build requests, I didn't use Old Eruption, but I still knew it was busted. I didn't have to personally experience it to understand that it was like, you know, really, really strong. And even those few times I did, I was like, wow, I'm like winning the match for free. This is hilarious, you know.
Because of that being complained about and being changed, the hatch standoff was gotten rid of by allowing the killers to be able to close the hatch. And with the in-game collapse being added in, now you're on a, on time sensitive. You got sensitive time to be able to get out.
Well, in the same sense that, like, here, devil's advocate here, in the same way that we don't want 30-minute games because of, Skull Merchant and Knight holding a 3-gen really hard. Why would we not want the game to end quickly instead of having an infinite timer where the game could go on for 20, 30 minutes? Why would we want that? Same thing, right? Like, if you don't want the game extended to a 30-minute match because of a 3-gen, you probably don't want it in an endgame either.
And not die. This is also, and for us, has been more times than we care to count, have led to situations, and you could say, well, this is just bad RNG, it's just, luck, bro, get over it. But this should never be a case. Because you guys complained about us having the hatch standoff and there was no in-game collapse and people just hung around or whatever, because all of that was complained about and changed and got rid of, we've now had numerous times where once the hatch is found before we could find it and it's closed, we don't have a key to open it, the only way out is through the doors. And we've had numerous times where the doors would spawn in just the right spots where a killer could stand in a perfect 180 situation and just look at both doors and just turn back and forth and watch both doors. And this whole time you've got the in-game collapse going on, your time's ticking. So you either are just going to stand there and die to the in-game collapse, you're going to try to get on a door, or the killer will, the killer's going to see you and they're going to come get you.
You can do the E-trick. Do the E-trick. I lose to the E-trick all the time still. I lose to the E-trick. Do the E-trick.
So
now, obviously, I'm not saying that's like a catch-all, like that automatically wins, but there is something to do there. It's not a lose-lose.
Basically, either way, you're it's a guaranteed
There's
death,
something you can do.
And that should just not be a case for the survivor side. It should not be. That should not be a possibility where you're fated.
I would argue that if we're in a situation where the hatch is already closed because so many people have died, that the match is already a loss anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're already in like hatch closed, trying to get the doors, like the match is already a loss for the survivor side, right? Who cares if one person lives or dies? It was a big L. It was a big L. That match didn't go your way. Something in the match, whether it was a bad random or your team didn't play well, something happened that resulted in that loss. But it is already a loss. I don't think that's that big of a deal.
Is sealed and you're guaranteed to die. That just should not be a thing. Another thing with the hatches was that, at a certain point, when there was more gens done than people alive, the hatch would spawn and it'd open up and everyone could just escape.
So ridiculously unfair.
You didn't
so ridiculously unfair. This was one of the most unfair things you could run into in Killer back in the day. Survivors would 3-gen themselves, so do all the gens in a very inefficient order in positioning. Leave a 3-gen on one side of the map, but as long as this hatch was up, they could just go find a key and all leave. They could essentially just get out of jail free for their mistake, and it was so bull. It was so unfair.
Finish all the gens. You didn't have to get a door open. You could just leave. That was complained about, and
yeah, because it was unfair.
We got the point where, the hatch will only show up when you're the only person left. And you used to be able to still pop that hatch open with the key instantly, but that was further complained about, even more so. You already got hatches.
You know what? I have never, outside of a meme, caught somebody opening the hatch, and because of them having to have the hatch open animation, they've lost and not gotten out. Like, ever. Since they've made that change, I have never run up to somebody injured or exposed standing over a hatch doing the animation and caught them and killed them instead. That has literally never happened to me since that has happened. And I play almost every day. I have literally never, ever been in that situation. I think that one literally doesn't matter.
Changed your way a few times, and that still wasn't enough. So you kept complaining, and now where are we at now? You have to sit on it with a key for about 2 or 3 seconds to be able to get it open. Now, if you're able to find it before the killer finds you, then yeah, that's no problem. You can get out. but there's been numerous times where one of us is the last one alive, and if we do have a key, you know, the killer just knows where we're at. They're able to find us somehow, or, you know, they've already seen us as soon as they close the hatch, or we try to get to a door. You're being chased. You got the key. You're not going to have time to sit down on that hatch for 2 or 3 seconds and pop it open. You're screwed. You know, again, your fate is sealed. That shouldn't be a thing.
I've never run into this.
The brand new parts. I mean, everybody knows about the brand new parts.
Brand new parts are still
the
dumb.
way they work now. You get 2 skill checks off successfully. You get a little bit of progress.
If there was an add-on or an offering that a killer could bring that could just like shoot you to death hook after your first hook, just one survivor on the team. Just one survivor team goes from first hook to second hook, just on the first time they get hooked. Nobody'd be cool with that. That's what BMPs are. They just like partially complete a gen. They can partially complete the main objective of the game, just cause. Just cause I can hit grades, which are not hard to hit. If killers had to hit 2 great skill checks just to advance somebody to second stage, I don't think you'd be cool with that. I don't think you'd be fine with that.
And then it's gone. You go far enough back, and that wasn't a thing. Brand new parts, as long as you can keep hitting them skill checks and you were uninterrupted, man, brother, everybody knows this. You're able to just keep on that gen until that thing was done, man.
No, which is silly.
If one person was getting chased and the other 3 people sat there and had their brand new parts, boy, you'd sit there and have 3 gens pop off and...
Yeah, BPs are dumb,
you know,
inherently.
help me out in the comments, man. What was it, 20 seconds, 30 seconds?
He had a rant at the beginning of this talking about how he should be allowed to have double exhaustion because a killer's not skillful, but is criticizing the removal of BMP, which takes almost 0 skill and wins the objective. There's a little bit of a disconnect happening here, right? We should be able to have double exhaustion in a chase with a killer because we outskilled them, but I should be allowed to complete gens for minimal skill, which is the main objective of the game. Super fast, just cuz. There's a disconnect happening there.
Maybe even less. You'd sit there and have 3 gens pop off. Just that fast, you know. So yeah, I get it. You know, some of these things that I'm talking about, you know, we agreed as a group that, you know, some of these things, they did need to be changed, they need to be taken out, you know. But some of these things that I'm going over, and I still have a couple.
Have a nice night.
You know,
okay, night Apple. Appreciate you.
To talk about. You know, I feel that, you know, they should have been left alone, or at least now with the state the game's in and the stuff that you guys have at your, you know, at your tool belt, your arsenal. Some of these things I think should be reverted back. But one of the other things that we had before was the insta-heal med kits. You used to be able to take the syringe, take the needle, pop it in you, say, yeah, I'm good to go, and then get right
Syringes
back to
are still strong. Syringes are still strong.
And that's not a thing no more. Everyone knows now. You sit there and you use that needle, and it just slowly gives you back that 1 health state.
Which is still super strong. A health state for free? That I already injured you for? Once again, here's this disconnect. I had a long chase with you, so you're clearly not skillful, so you deserve to have double exhaustion. But I deserve to have free gens, free health states, which takes 0 skill. It's just hitting a button. There's a disconnect happening here in the philosophy.
You know, or interrupted. That was another thing that was complained about, and it's gone. Just like with the brand new part, being able to do a full gen, just like the exhaustion thing, the pallet vacuum, standing still at the window and being able to speed vault it, the 1-door killer shacks, the hatches being able to be closed and before it wasn't being able to be closed, the in-game collapse. There's so many things that have been complained about and changed for the killers to give them an easier time, because it's things that they didn't want to deal with. That was annoying to go up against. It was a pain in the ass to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So you complained enough about
it's not fair
to get it gone and removed or nerfed to where you don't have to worry about it no more. And like I said, I want to say this again, I'm not pointing the finger at every single killer main out there. I know that it's just, there's a vocal group that has gotten their point across numerous times and had it their way. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, syringes are still incredibly strong, Hot Buff. Very, very strong.
Now,
for reasons like
the next
that.
thing I want to move on to is our survivor perks and how they've been complained about and they've been changed, nerfed, and so on. You know, one of the first ones I want to go over, and this one now, I mean, you pretty much, a lot of these, you don't even see nobody running them anymore. We don't anyway, with our fellow survivors, our randoms. Borrowed time. Everyone knows now we got base kit borrowed time, so there ain't really much of a reason to run it.
Borrow time is a game saver in endgame. I'll tell you what, you may not get value of it like in the mid game or the early game. BT in the end game is almost a free out. If you have the door 99, that extra time for endurance, they can't wait it out. And that's enough time to run to the gate. BT will save. You should run BT in the end game. That's my advice. Run BT and be the one to get the end game save while you have BT. You will see those hills shine. Because I have been saved. Uzi, who I play with all the time, he runs BT and he has saved my life. Literally turned me from a death hook gamer into a free out because of BT so many matches. It's a very, very helpful end game perk. Very, very helpful.
You go far enough back and you get my personal favorite version of borrowed time was when the person doing the unhooking and the person getting unhooked, you would both get borrowed time.
Yeah, which is really strong.
You could only use it once per match.
Still really strong.
Now I get it, you know, you guys still say, well, no, bro, that was busted because people would sit there and they would wait. There'd be one guy who would hold on to it in a 4-man swift and everybody else would do the unhooking. And when we get the door,
here's the big deal. Here's the big thing. Is like if people use this argument a lot. Is like if it's busted but only abusable by a coordinated group, we should leave it as is. It's like, no, the DBD community inherently is a community of people that likes to abuse things. You've seen, you know, playing to the survivor side here, no anti-tunnel incentive, suddenly everybody's tunneling. There's tunneling almost every single match I play of Survivor now. You take tunneling, you take anti-tunnel away, suddenly everybody's tunneling. We are a group of players in this community who love just abusing the hell out of things. If we have the ability to abuse something strong, we just will. So you can't say like, oh, well, you know, did that really happen often? Or like, hey, will they really abuse it? The answer is yes. Yes, they will. They will abuse it. So if it can be abused, it should probably be changed.
door open, well, and we get somebody hooked, that one guy would come in and save the day and do the borrowed time, and you'd both get it, and you just get the hell out and give us the middle finger and say, yeah, screw you, go get cucked. You know, I get it. You know, I know that probably happened, but for me and my group,
that's your subjective experience, though.
We never had that situation happen.
Just because you didn't mean it didn't. Like, yeah, like you just said it yourself. That's what it used to do, and it happened a lot, and that was unfair. Just because your group in specific didn't do these things doesn't mean that they did not happen. They were not a problem.
And if it did, you could probably count it on one hand. A lot of the things that you killers deal with that are severely annoying, and when you get stomped terribly bad, a lot of times that is either when it's a new killer going up against very experienced survivors, or the top tier killers against top tier survivors, who both sides they don't want to get off the game and they don't know how to play something else and take breaks. That's something that people need to learn to do. I mean, I get it if you're a content creator, that's hard to do. You know, it's hard for you to take breaks and like that because you make the content, you know, for your people. I get that. But taking breaks from the game to go do other things, to play other games, it can help ease the tension, the pressure it helps with your sanity. But now, so borrowed time, you know, we used to have it very strong as it was, you know, once per match, both people get it. You know, that's not a thing anymore. It's complained about, it's gone. This next perk, Decisive Strike, that's something that me and my group, none of us have ever ran it. None of us.
Ever?
Not one time have any of us ever ran Decisive Strike.
Well, you kind of didn't need to back in the day, because, like, DS was, like, I didn't run DS that often back when it was good, because, like, the risk of being hit with the DS was just as scary as the DS itself. So it was just kind of like, you know, it kind of like, you know, pseudo existed even if you didn't bring it. Survivor in the book staying in Terrius and keeping their friends from being hit and injured. Yep. Like I said, if it can be abused, it will be. If it can be, it will be.
Is because when we got into the game, for that first year or two, it seemed like, man, that perk was just so controversial for a long time. It's like every time you turn around, Decisive Strike's getting nerfed, or it's getting changed, or Decisive Strike this, Decisive Strike. There's always something going on with Decisive Strike. And I'm like, brother, if this perk is going to be getting looked at and talked about and messed with this much, there ain't no point in running it. So we just didn't run it. Now I get it. You guys complain it was too overpowered because it'd be like the borrowed time. You get in a situation. Oh well, they got the doors open. I downed this guy, picked him up. Oh man.
DS DS not turning off for any reason was really strong. DSing off objectives, DSing off for altruism. Like it was just DSing off of being slugged. Like I unbreakable up, or if you grab me, I DS. Like it's like that stuff was dumb and wrong. But like when it turned off, honestly, the perk was fine. And they over nerfed it when they reduced the stun timer as well.
He just kicked me in the head. Now, you know, I get it. You know, I get it. You guys had situations like that, and it sucks, man. You know, I'm gonna get to a point here later, and you're gonna see what I mean when I say you guys have just incredibly powerful things that you guys could bring to the table that we have to deal with, and that we've been dealing with for years. And we deal with it, and we move on and go to the next match. And you guys, I feel, should have to do the same thing.
Both sides complain. This is trust me, dude. Like, I get both sides because as somebody who like tries to, you know, look at what's healthy for the game and not necessarily what benefits me only. I get people on both sides just incredibly biased whining. It's not one side or the other. They both whine. They're both crybabies. It's not one side or the other.
Thing. You know, deal with it, move on, go to the next match. You know, take breaks if you have to. Another one, and this is one I don't run. I never have ran this, but I got members of my group who did. Iron Will, reducing your grunts of pain by 100%.
I think Iron Will could have had either the exhaustion effect or the quieter effect. I don't think it needed both. I think Iron Will could have had either or of its nerfs, but not both. I think both was a little much.
It's completely eliminating it. I guess for killers, I guess that was a problem. They complained about it, and now it's down to 75%. So they quit running it in my group, and I don't really see hardly anybody running it anymore.
Yeah, I think it did need both.
Perk that that I was upset about that's been messed with and changed over time, and now with the recent change, I don't run it anymore. Is Dead Hard. Everybody loves Dead Hard, don't they?
Still,
everyone loves to talk about it. Everyone loves to run it. Everyone loves to hate it. So Dead Hard, you know, for the longest time has been a hated perk.
For good reason.
Man, dude, I really enjoyed it more when it was Dead Hard for distance, because whenever I was getting chased, I would be able to sit there and Dead Hard for that distance and I'd reach that pallet. I'd reach that window. I'd be able to keep the chase going, keep the killer.
Yeah, for free.
So my friends
for free. For free, by the way. Speaking of which, we were talking about skill earlier, right? Like, I should be able to double Dead Hard because they chased me too long. I should be able to have free distance and invincibility just cuz. There's a disconnect happening.
Allies, they could do their job, get the gens done, and get us out. And now it's not the same. And the thing that's funny about it is that you guys have complained about it so much, and they've changed it. But yet, even though I don't run it no more, there's still so many survivors who do.
Because it's still good.
And it's like, was the complaint?
It's still good. I still think Sprint Burst and Lithe are better perks, but it's still very, very, very good. It's very, very good. Especially as a counter pick to like certain killers like Nurse, Blight, Wesker, like stronger characters in the game, where getting a last second hit is like really, really like good on them. Like, yeah, just saying no, that hit didn't happen. I have endurance now is really good. Really good.
Do you guys enjoy dealing with how it is now versus for the distance? You know, let me know in the comments.
I prefer this current version of Dead Hard, and if they nerf it anymore, it's probably not going to be a usable perk anymore, to be honest. I don't know what else you do this perk besides just destroying it that keeps it in the game. Its effect is what is strong. Is that free? Not always free, but like that extra health state? Yeah. Old Dead Hard was actually a free health state. This new Dead Hard, a little bit less, but yeah, that extra health state is what is strong about it. So unless you take away that extra health state aspect of it, which would make it a different perk entirely, or maybe not worth using, like, kind of the only way the perk can exist in the game.
There's another one that one of my group members ran, and I used to see all kinds of people, and I do think it was kind of more of a new Survivor thing for the most part. Self-care. You know,
self-care was...
You know, heal yourself.
Self-care is a bad
perk. Didn't have to rely on anybody. Didn't have to have a med kit.
Yeah, it was such a time deficit.
You know,
I don't know why they nerfed self-care.
Somewhere away from the killer, heal yourself.
It was weird.
You know, let your other 3 survivors do gens, loop, whatever. That was complained about and looked at for a long time there at one point, and now it's basically so useless you don't really see anybody run it. I haven't seen anybody run it in a long time. That's another thing you guys complained about that has been changed and you no longer have to deal with.
Yeah, because that person spent all that time self-caring. They could have been on a gen and winning the match. Self-care was a time deficit perk when time and DBD is gen time, right? It's just, it didn't make sense to nerf it again.
Small game. That's another one that I personally don't run, but I've had members of my group run it. They said with some of the last few changes that was made to it, they could no longer, you can't see traps with small game.
Yeah.
I guess that was an issue.
Yeah, because Trapper's already one of the weakest characters in the game. Why? What do you mean, I guess that's an issue? You took one of the weakest characters in the game and made him even weaker. Huh? Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I never ran it, but I guess that was another thing you guys complained about. They don't run it.
It made one of the weakest characters in the game even weaker. Did you not do research on why that was hated? Because I think it's pretty clear.
No more. And I don't see that many people run it from what I could remember of our, at least with recent memory in my matches. You know, a lot of these. Borrowed Time, the Decisive Strike, Iron Will, Self-Care, Small Game. You know, there's other perks too that I haven't mentioned, you know, but you get the idea. There's a lot of perks that we've had that have been just complained about. They've been changed, they've been nerfed, and a lot of
I mean, you can say a lot of this for the killer side too, like Pop, Ruin, Undying. Like, you can say this for a lot of killer stuff. Barbecue got its blood point stuff removed. Like, there's plenty of perks. Enduring had its ability to affect all stuns, including DS stuns, removed. Like, there's so many perks that used to operate a certain way that was really good back in the day that no longer operate that way. So it's kind of like a, you know, they could say that too, technically, right?
Just you don't see anymore, and if you do, it's very sparingly. Dead Hard is like the only exception right now, just out of the ones I've mentioned, that you still see used a lot. You know, and you know, switching gears here, you know, we're talking about, you know, complaining and all that and having to deal with stuff or whatever. You know, moving on to what you guys have, you know, as the killers, you guys, and it's gotten more and more this way as time has went on, because of all the new introductions with the new killers and powers and perks and add-ons and all the stuff that you guys have.
Okay.
First one I want to talk about is barbecue and chili. Now, I know a lot of you are gonna say, "Well, brother, that's just something we ran for points, man." You know, a lot of people, they just run it for the points, you know. So that's all there is. Come on, guys, come on. You know as well as I do, there is a huge chunk of the killer mains out there. They don't care about them points. They run the perk because they want to sit there and see where people are.
What? What? Wait. We're complaining about barbecue and chili? Which gives you bare basic info as a reward for successfully hooking somebody. Bare basic info for hooking someone is OP? You hate that? You want to keep double exhaustion. You want to keep old B&P. You want to keep old Dead Hard. You want to keep old Borrowed Time. But bare basic info that you earned, capital E, earned through a hook, bad. If you want, okay, you know, I'll give my thoughts at the end, but, you know, spoilers for the end. I feel like, unfortunately, you have very, very heavy bias, and most of your takes are baked into bias and not a general game philosophy. It does not appear that you have a general philosophy about how the game should be. It seems more survivors should have good stuff and killers should have bad stuff. And you can't look me in the eye and tell me that's healthy for the future of the game. You can't look me in the eye and tell me it's healthy for me, my side, to just have all the stuff and you to have all the bad stuff. That's not how that works. That's really not how that works. I don't see a philosophy here. It's just I should keep the good stuff, you should keep the bad stuff. Because I'm trying to follow you here, right? Like, I should have double exhaustion because the killers are bad. That way I can, like, punish them for being bad. But, like, we're already started off on the killer side. Like, I can't even have, like, basic info that doesn't lead to anything strong or overpowered, just my ability to maintain chase and have map knowledge. Like, they're not allowed to have that, but you're allowed to have BT, old Dead Hard, old DS. Like, where's the design philosophy here? What is your philosophy? Are you cool with things if they're earned, or do you just want the game to be wacky and strong? Because that's not the case. You don't want the game to be wacky and strong because you only want survivors to be wacky and strong, not killers. But you don't want things to be earned either, because you want them to be earned if you're doing it on the survivor side. But if the killers earn aura reading through a hook, that's bad, apparently. What is your philosophy exactly? Because currently that just sounds like survivor gripes. These just sound like survivor gripes. And if we had the game the way you wanted it, the game would be miserable, to be frank with you. If we just had one side heralded and only listened to, and they had all the strong stuff while the other side didn't, the game would just be miserable. The game would die with a lack of philosophy, a lack of general philosophy. Not great.
Now, you look at someone like me and say, well, quit being a moron, man. You just go and hide in the locker or get close and you don't got to deal with it. At one point in time, yes. Now, no. Because more times than not, we've run into so many killers doing some just crazy powerful combinations to make us either give away our location, to slow us down, to be able to see right where we're at, to basically neutralize. As a survivor, all we can do is run and hide. It's not Friday the 13th.
You can still get in the locker.
Back. We could run, we could hide.
More
and more over time, you guys have constantly gotten things that allow you to be able to see us and get rid of our ability to hide.
Which is better than slowdown, right?
So with barbecue and chili, you hook somebody, you see them far away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's the thing to do? You either get close or you hide in a locker. Well,
yeah.
You got Iron Maiden.
I
can't hide in that locker.
I do that all the time. I cuck barbecue all the time playing Survivor. That's what I do. If I have the inkling that somebody has barbecue, or Uzi, who runs Object, calls it out in voice comms, I just stand really close to where they are. Like, I literally just stand really close to where they are, and I just, like, they don't know I'm there, right? Like, I do this all the time. It's an easy counterplay. Like, hello? Also, Iron Maiden, besides Huntress, who's running Iron Maiden? Bubba sometimes? Doctor sometimes? Who's running Iron Maiden? What killer population are you running into that's running Iron Maiden all the time? Trickster? That's another good example. Yeah. But even that, I don't personally run Iron Maiden on Trickster.
More.
Who are you running into that's running Iron Maiden all the time?
That's ran that combination. So
really? Your kid outside of Huntress, who is running? Outside of Huntress, who is running barbecue Iron Maiden all of these games to tilt you like this? Yeah, also you have distortion now. Just use distortion. It's literally the perk made for this gripe. You have a tool for this. Since killers have everything, let me remind you, you have distortion now. You can just say no to that perk, period.
Now what do? You can't hide in the locker because you hide in the locker to dodge barbecue and chili, but now when you get out, you're still going to be seen, and on top of that, you're going to be exposed. Not all killers can capitalize on that. I get that.
Yeah, most can.
Some that can.
Like 90% can.
So now what's the next thing you do? Well, if you can't hide in the locker, you get close. Oh, but no, you can't do that either.
Yeah, you can.
I'll tell you why.
I do it all the time. What do you mean? This is like the main way I counter this perk. I'm interested.
Came in, and I'm pretty confident it's his, without going back and double checking.
Awaken Awareness?
Might have been Nemesis. One of them. They brought in a perk.
Yeah, Awaken Awareness? Nobody runs Awaken Awareness besides, like, Uzi. Nobody runs Awaken Awareness. Who is running Barbecue and Awaken Awareness together? Huh? Who is running Awaken Awareness and Barbecue together? Huh? Even Uzi, who loves Awaken Awareness, only runs Awaken Awareness. He actually does it because he hates barbecue and chili. He'd rather have Awakened. Unless I'm just not paying attention. I don't know if I've seen somebody run these two together.
That allows them, while they're carrying a survivor on their shoulder, to be able to see other survivors' auras that are close. So now, you're in another dilemma. You can't stay far away because you'll be seen with barbecue.
But people don't run these perks together.
Seen and exposed.
They don't.
You can't get close. because you'll be seen with that perk. And then if you add Starstruck on top of that, well, now you're just doubly.
Oh, people don't do that anymore.
Everyone loves getting twice, right?
People don't even do that now anymore because Nurse was the main character that did that, so that's gone. I see it on a Wraith every once in a while, but even then he's most of the time he's undetectable, so he's ruining his own build. I've seen it on Deathslinger before. That's been interesting, but that's because you can heart people, bring him in, and then hit him. I think that's smart. But like, I really don't see Starstruck that much more. Starstruck is one of my least favorite perks in the game, by the way. So I should be right there with you, going, yeah, screw Starstruck. But like, the reason you're giving it is like,
You have no way to hide when you're far away.
No,
No way to
really
hide when you're close. And if you do try to hide when you're far away, you get exposed to one shot. If you're trying to hide close, you're seen.
Nobody's running these perks together. Nobody's running these builds, brother. What region are you on, where you're getting people running? I will cover every area of info, up close, far away. You get in a locker, you're done. Like what? I play Survivor every Tuesday and every Friday, and I've never run into this ever. Literally ever. Who are you? Where are you? I would love to play on your servers where people are running all info and not this crap. Not like triple slowdown into funny perk. Like, I would love that.
And you're on top of that, you're going to be able to be one-shotted. People like Nurse, now like I said, I understand all killers are different. Some can't capitalize as well as others. People like Nurse, they just had a field day. They see you close while they're hooking somebody, and you got Starstruck, you're exposed.
That's more of a Nurse problem, though.
Boy, I hope you're good at looting.
Yeah, which is why they nursed her. That's why they nerfed her. That's why they nerfed her, so they could get rid of that Starstruck combo. But then again, that's more problems with Nurse and her ability to, just go through walls and be on people in 2 seconds.
Faster than a
Not
sack of
problem with
potatoes.
perks.
Now look,
Potatoes.
that's just one
I know
combination.
I'm having after stream today.
Okay, that's the example I decided to give here. That's one combination of perks that me and my friends have had to deal with a lot.
How have I never run into this combo? And you've dealt with it a lot. Huh? I am legit. I'm not fibbing. I'm not trying to prove a point. I literally don't run into this. Like, I'm being dead. Seriously, I don't run into these. I've never seen anybody run, like, besides a Huntress, I've never seen Barbecue Iron Maiden. Okay, Bubba. I've seen Bubba do Barbecue Iron Maiden like once or twice because it's funny because if they hit the locker and they chainsaw and you get out, you're still exposed. But that's not very efficient, right? Much less like Awaken Awareness Barbecue Iron Maiden Nowhere to Hide. Like, how are you running into these a lot? Like, what server are you on? I would love to go over there and see how that is. It's like, I don't run into this stuff. I really don't.
And there's other combinations you guys can do to make our lives as survivors, not just me and my group, but just for all survivors, a living hell. Things that like I said, things that we have to deal with. They're not getting pulled out of the game. They're not getting thrown away. They're not getting nerfed into the ground to the point where people just quit running. Yeah, maybe people up at top tier, maybe you guys don't run stuff like that. You got to run the meta stuff, so that way you could win. But for us down back at casual level, we're either running into people who run the meta stuff, and then we have a hard time, or we run into people running these...
Awaken Awareness, Iron Maiden, and Nowhere to Hide is pretty good. But, like, Awaken Awareness, Iron Maiden is meta? Brother, I, never see those perks. I, never see them. Awaken Awareness and Iron Maiden are meta? Brother, where? Barbecue's at 6. Nowhere to Hide's at 8? What? Can we just do Killer? Awaken Awareness has a 1.2% use rate. What Iron Maiden? Oh, I spelled it wrong. 4% use rate? What are you talking about? Look at this. This perk you're so scared of? Awaken Awareness? 1.2% use rate. 1.2% pick rate. You're down here with Disillusion, Haunted Ground, Oppression, Fire Up? Okay.
Crazy powerful combinations, you know, for either seeing us, making us get exposed, slowing down, like whatever it may be.
Is the 1% you? And the 0.2%, 27% is the rest of us? Like, is the 1% specifically your matches? Like, Awakened Awareness meta?
You know, that is just a pain in the ass. We can deal with it. We deal with it. We get by. We do. But it's just a pain in the ass to deal with. But we don't complain about it.
Yeah, you do.
To try to get it removed or nerfed.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do. Like, maybe your group doesn't, but survivors definitely do. Both sides complain. This opinion, you gotta get. If you ask me my opinion, this is why you want me to watch this. You want my opinion? You need to drop this. If you talked about taking a break and like not being as stressed out about the game, the thing that will make you the most happy in this game is dropping this. My side is the best, and I deserve everything attitude. That will be the thing that makes you the happiest in this game. This attitude of like, man, killers have all this stuff, and if I could just dead hard to pallets again, everything would be great. I should be able to like DS people off of gens and stuff, and my life will be amazing. Like, you got to get rid of this one-sided take thing. If like that is the biggest pain point I see. Is like, you are very, very, very heavily survivor biased, like ridiculously so. Like almost to a comical point. We've been laughing, not at you, but like at the things you're saying. Like, we're laughing about it. That's how comically like off base you are. You don't want what's best for the game. You want what's best for your side, and that's why like you're so flabbergasted that all this is happening. You're flabbergasted that killers get all this, and flabbergasted that people don't agree with you. It's because you're so clearly biased that it's hard not to like giggle at some of the stuff you said. Awakened Awareness meta? Brother, I just pulled up the stats. It's at 1.27% use rate. It is one of the least used perks in the game. It is down there. It's not this down there with Fire Up. Like, that's why people don't take it seriously. Take these takes seriously, because they're not true. They're just biased takes.
Into non-existent. And that's what I'm saying. That's what you guys have done for so long. And you guys have had it your way. And I think some of you take that for granted. You know, sometimes I think some killers out there don't take a step back to think about all the things that's been put more on your side and more in your favor. The things that...
And I will agree with that. I get so many people down in the comments that are just like, survivors are just as strong as they were 3 years ago. And it's like, no, they're not. No. I did a match review, not a match review, but I watched one of my old matches that I played in 2020. I hit this Claudette on one side of Father Campbell's chapel, and the speed burst that she got from being hit took her to the other side of main building. Now, modern day, that speed burst you get upon being injured only gets you about halfway across the building. There's just little stuff like that across the board that is better for you. Way better for you. So I agree with that.
We used to have things that we used to be able to do and that we can't do no more.
We would, Chloe. We would. We'd be happy to see it.
You didn't want to deal with it. Things that you guys pointed the finger at everything else except for yourself, when potentially at times you might not have been as good in the chase as you thought you were. And there's nothing.
And your favorite perk was Dead Hard, which was quite literally free distance and invincibility to windows and pallets. Killers are bad at chase, but I'm lamenting that my free distance and invincibility got taken away. Huh.
Nothing wrong with that. I go up against killers all the time who are better than me. They outmaneuver me. They outmind game me. Yeah, it gets on my nerves, but you know, they did better than me. As a killer, you got to be able to look at yourself and think the same thing. If you're looping, if the survivor is looping you for 30, 40, 50 seconds, you know, if it's all over a minute, man, why are you still there?
I agree with that. Stop overcommitting to chases. That is the biggest problem I see with a lot of like people that play killer nowadays. You overcommit to chases, and then you're like, oh, I'm being generous. Just like, why didn't you commit to a chase for more than a full minute? Like, disembark. Go find somebody else.
Should have done either caught them or given up on that chase altogether and went and checked on the other gens and the other people.
He's right.
You know, and that leads me into another thing. Well, I'll circle back to that in a minute.
Circle of
But
healing. Ooh.
you guys will point the finger at, a lot of you will point the finger at everything but yourself. Well, they got those perks, that's why I couldn't catch them. Well, they got these features,
You mean like old Dead Hard? You mean like old Dead Hard that gave you free distance and invincibility?
all these things that they used to have or whatever. They got all these things that they can do, and that's why I couldn't catch them. Brother, look at yourself from time to time and ask the questions, did I mess up somewhere in that chase? Could I have capitalized on him? You know? Maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. You know? It's okay to acknowledge that, to see that, to take a look at yourself and admit, well, this guy outplayed me. You know, he was just better than me, you know? But there's so many killers that don't do that. You know, and that's a problem.
He needs to do the same? Yep.
Because
Yep.
what does that lead to?
He was just lamenting about 10 minutes ago about how, like, he was so sad that his Dead Hard got taken away and nerfed, and how terrible it is now compared to the current version. Maybe you weren't as good at chases as you thought you were. Maybe a lot of the chases you were winning was because of free invincibility and distance, and not necessarily because you were actually looping the best. Just a thought.
Well, it's not my fault. It's their fault. They got this. That should be taken out so I can catch them. And that's what happens. Oh, they can do this over there in the shack, or they can do this or whatever. That shouldn't be allowed to happen. It's taken out. Now it's not a problem. Constantly things are complained about on the survivor side until it is nerfed so damn hard that it's no longer a problem, or it's just completely gone and taken out of the game altogether. And you guys over
Also
time,
true, man.
in the past,
Also true. Still good.
you know, 3,
Not
4,
OP.
5, 6 years ago,
Also
you
OP
know,
against certain
a
characters.
lot of these things, yeah, man, that was, we all know the game is different, man. This game is completely different from the way it was 5, 6, 7 years ago from launch.
As it should be.
There's just been so many things that's been changed in the killer's favor that I feel like sometimes you don't take a step back and look at just how many things have been changed. I want to wrap this up a little bit on the killer part with some other things, situations that it shouldn't be a thing,
Okay.
but it is, and it sucks. It sucks, man. So like when the hatch is closed, you don't have a key, you're in InGame Collapse.
Okay.
Your only way out is the doors. If you are lucky enough that the doors are on opposite sides of the map, they're spread out pretty decently well to where the killer has to traverse back and forth. You have a little bit of time. If it's someone...
I see this on both sides of the game. The endgame collapse is such a crybaby thing for a lot of people. I'm like, why? Like, I like the endgame collapse and the little endgame that happens because it's like a little RNG thing. It's like a little like mini game of like, will they get the hatch before I do? If they do, whoop-de-doo, I still have a 3K, and if they don't, hey, I get my 4K. Wow, cool. But killers are like, I need to be... I don't get why they get to get the hatch. That's just unfair. They didn't earn that. And then survivors are like, oh, I deserve to get the hatch. It's like, where does this come from? The whole point of this is it's a funny little mini game that happens at the end for fun. Like, why do people hate the end game so much? I don't understand.
Like Trapper, who's able to put a trap on the door, so
Yeah.
you have to disarm it to be able to start opening the door.
So, he's one of the weakest characters. He's one of the weakest characters in the game. He's bottom 3. Don't take that away from poor Trapper. Come on now.
Someone like, well, the new killer, Skull Merchant. Is
Yeah.
another good example. Something that just in the last week, I have dealt with 2 or 3 times. I've been in the situation. If you go through some of my recent videos I've uploaded, I think I've got at least 1 or 2 examples of it happening that you could watch firsthand.
Hey, it's kind of weird.
For 3
I
times.
was
I've been
watching
in
this
a
B-roll.
situation-
I was watching this B-roll since we're talking about like things that are unfair that all the killers have. Watch this. Watch this. You see how you just like throw this pallet? You pre-drop this pallet, no skill required, and you just camp the pallet. And the moment the Billy comes around, you just dead hard away. Did that killer play bad, or did you just kind of like e-key out of the way? Since we're talking about things that, you know, people just playing badly, and maybe you should just take a look in the mirror. What did you... I know you get down pretty soon after this, but like, you're cheesing a perk in the background of your B-roll where you're complaining about killers using cheesy perks and combos while you're cheesing a perk that survivors used to have that was busted in your B-roll. Do you understand? There's no where you are have a major disconnect. You are complaining about killers having such busted cheesy perks while cheesing a perk in your B-roll. It's down here. You played bad and then EK'd away for free. Like, help me.
I think I've got at least 1 or 2 examples of it happening that you could watch firsthand. They beat you to the doors. She sets up the drones. And now, as the last survivor that can't get out of the hatch, and you're in in-game collapse, you're on a time limit, what can you do? You can't do nothing. You go in and either let yourself get exposed, trying to get that door open, and hope that you get the door open in time before they
Well, if they're not active, you can just disarm them. But then she sees you. But there is that. You can at least disarm them. Honestly, it'd be better to just stick the door. At that point, yeah.
But you probably
it's still really
won't,
strong, though.
and then now you're exposed, you're one-shotted, it's over, you're dead. You go in, disarm.
But like, once again, like I'm talking about, it's like, if you're at that point where the hatch is closed and everybody else is dead, you guys lost the game. Why are you entitled to escape if the game is already lost? I don't get this logic.
So that way you don't get exposed. You just disarm.
Just like if you did make it out, the killer wasn't entitled to a 4K just because they got the 3K. Like, I don't get this entitlement from both of the sides on this.
They know where you're at. They're coming for you. You ain't going to have enough time. Maybe, depending on what map you're on and depending on maybe if you got perks or something helping you out, you might be able
You know how you avoid that? You win the game in the middle. In the before the end of the game part. You win the game. That's how you avoid that. The counterplay is don't lose. Like, I know, I understand. Trust me, I play Survival all the time. You get bad randoms. Or you're not running with a squad. Or your squad gets squashed. Like, I get that. But to say there's no way to avoid this situation, like, brother, win the match before the endgame situation.
get it, but if not, if they get to you before you can get the door ready, well, now they're on you, you're pretty much dead. These are situations, this and the 180 situations, which came from being able to close the hatch and the InGame Collapse and having the bad RNG, all of these things combined, has put survivors in situations, and it's not all killers, that's why I said there's only some of them, has put survivors in situations, and this has happened to my group so many times, that you are in a no-win scenario, and that should not be a thing.
You already lost. It's not a no-win scenario. You've already lost. Even if you get out, it's still a 3K. You still didn't get the W. You magically getting out doesn't make it a W. It just raises your MMR. You guys still lost the match. The match is still an L. It's not just a lose-lose. You've already lost.
It shouldn't. You should not ever be put in a possibility situation where you're guaranteed to die. Your fate is sealed. You've signed your death certificate. It's over with.
Oh, you mean like when you're getting close to a pallet that you wouldn't originally make, but now you have a magical E key that vaults you forward a full meter, and now you make the pallet and you slap it in their face even though you should have went down? There should be no scenario where that should just be a free out, right? Like, I'm not doing this to be a jerk. Like, do you understand where there's like a lack of philosophy here? Like, it's okay. I want the free out, but they're not allowed, right? Like, the logic's not here. There's no philosophy.
You're screwed.
I'm just hearing killer bad, survivor good. That's like, it doesn't make sense.
It should not be a thing. There should always be a possibility to get out. And the fact that there are certain killers, certain things that can be done in this game to make that happen, to make it to where you're screwed, that's not right. So that's gonna end my rant on just the things that you guys killers have and stuff. I'm getting close.
I'm amazed that you didn't bring up like the dry kick meta with like overcharge or overcharge old eruption, Call of Brian. You didn't bring up any of like the actual like you didn't bring up the 3-gen conversation. You're not bringing up actual things that suck for Survivor that are pretty consistently bad. Like, things that even I would agree, I'm like, yeah, not being able to just 3-gen is kind of obnoxious. Yeah, being able to dry kick a gen and just delete it is pretty annoying. Like, you didn't even bring up, like, that stuff. I'm very shocked. Very shocked.
So I want to wrap this up. I know I've been, you know, talking your ear off, and you're probably tired of listening to me. But the last few things I want to talk about, and this is actually something that, you know, I've seen, you know, I've seen other, you know, I've seen content creators talking about this, seen some of the people I follow talk about this. And, you know, and I think about it from time to time.
Yeah, there was a perk that literally gave you 25 seconds, 25 whole seconds, almost a half minute of in cap for months. Months that was never brought up. What? Like, whoa.
More now. It's just the state of the game. The way the game's going. The way the player base is. This whole desire to, we can't have fun, bro. It's all about winning. I gotta win, you know, or not at all, you know. Like, for killers, it's, I gotta have that 4K, or not at all, man. You know, like, I can't, God forbid you let one person get a chance to get free, or they just barely manage to get that door open, but you go ahead and take them down anyway, instead of letting them crawl on out or let them have it.
Brother, they're playing the video game. It's their job to kill you. You're telling me if they get... You're telling me that if they open the door, I need to let them go now just because they got the door open? Homie, you can't be serious. Like, you're joking, right? You're entitled to escape just because you open the door, even if I down you? Do I just go stand in a corner and stop playing the video game? Hello? This is ridiculous. I need to let you go if you get the door open, period? Homie, you can't.
Have it. So many killers, I feel, used to do that. And now that's not the case.
You know why? Because everybody knew each other because the game was so tiny. You know why that used to happen? Here's the reason. Man to man. The reason that used to happen is because everybody knew each other. The game was so tiny that you'd run into your friends all the time. But now the game has actually a normal game population. So everybody's strangers. People would do that because they knew each other. It was like, oh, hey, that's so-and-so. I fought them before. Like, yeah, I'll let them go. Who cares? Right? But, like, I can't remember, like, I run into, like, people, like once a week that I've played before, right? I'll be like, oh, I think I've faced this killer before. Oh, I think I fought this survivor before. And it's like once a week I have that realization. The game's too big for that anymore. The game's too big to run into your friends all the time. That's why. It wasn't the DPD's community used to be so benevolent and kind. It's like, no, it's just like, it was so small that it was like a very tight-knit community. Now it's like huge. So that's not the case anymore.
Maybe 1 out of 10, maybe 1 out of 20 matches we have that happen for me and my group. But more often than not, there's no pity shown. There's no sympathy.
Why do they have to show sympathy and pity? Why? Why didn't you give that demo a kill that you were dead harding at the beginning of this stock footage? Why aren't you... yeah, there was a demo at the beginning of this that you were just like dunking all over. Why didn't you give him a pity kill? It's demo, right? He's a good boy. Why didn't you give him a pity kill, huh? Where was your pity? You were dead harding him all over the place. You were dunking on this man. Where was the pity kill, huh? Say everything that you say in this video to the other side and see if it makes sense. Say everything you say on one side to the other side and see if it makes sense. And if that litmus test doesn't go through, it shouldn't be your opinion. Easy peasy.
It's just, I'm gonna you in the and you're gonna like it.
That's it. Awooga.
That's not good for the game, man. For either side. That mentality is turning the game into this competitive, I have to win at it.
I do agree that, like, competitive play in this game has gotten very popular. Even if you're not actually going into comp, win streaking and stuff like that is just incredibly common. And I do think taking a party game and over sweating on it can kind of, like, with the game doesn't really have the infrastructure for it yet because it has no ranked mode, it has no casual mode. There's only one mode, so we can have that conversation. But to say it's all because of the killers, like, no, it's not all because of the killers. No, not even remotely.
Sweatiness, and the more that it keeps going in that direction, that's not good for the casual players like my group, who we don't run the meta. We might have...
You know whose fault that is? That's yours. You know what perks I run? You know what? I hate hyperfocus. You know what? I run hyperfocus. I hate Lithe. I run Lithe. I hate Proof. I run Proof sometimes. What are some killer perks that I hate that I run sometimes? Sometimes I run, like, honestly, my M1 killer build is pretty stinky. Pain Res, Jolt, Agi, pretty good, right? Use stronger perks. Nobody's forcing you to play nice. Nobody's forcing you to play like this. Nobody's forcing you to play kind. It's like that Billy that we had that I made that video on. Nobody's forcing him to just do M2 curves. Nobody has to respect you just because you're doing that. We play how we want. Nobody, just because you're playing nice, it does not mean the killer has to respect it. They play how they want, you play how you want. If you're sick of being stomped on because you're not using meta, run a little bit of meta. I'm not saying run full meta, but introduce some meta into your build. Run like one perk. That's really good right now, right? Example, the hunters we face. Yeah, I used to do comp. Yeah, Teehee. Yeah, like, and they continued to play like it was comp, even though they're apparently not in comp anymore. Yeah, that was something.
You tell me the meta, what it is, 4 perks. Like, yeah, this 4 perks, man. These are the meta. I might run one of them.
Yeah, do that. That's what you said.
Maybe 2, if that.
Yeah, do it.
But we don't come in with the idea to go hard and to go sweaty. Me and my group just don't play that way.
I don't either.
I can't.
But I'm always prepared because I'm always bringing at least 1 or 2 meta in case. In case.
The other survivors, and there are survivors that are assholes. I've seen it. You know, and it pisses me off that, you know, for me and my group, we get in, we get the gens done, we get the doors open, when we leave. That is it, man. And there's other survivor randoms we've been teamed up with.
Yeah, and I find it funny too. Like, that is kind of a discrepancy, Des, is that, like, he says he doesn't run meta, but, like, this is pre 6.1, and he's running all meta perks. This used to be a vault perk, remember? This used to have vault speed. Old BT, old Addy, old Deadheart, he's running only meta. Only meta. Hold on, we're at 32, 33? 33, 12? Let's see. Is this the only build he uses? Yeah, this is all meta. Like, the build he used to run is all meta. You say you don't run sweat perks, but the only B-roll footage you've used is you using oops all meta from the old patch where these matches were filmed. You're using four meta perks. You gotta explain that one. You gotta explain that one. You're like, I run 1, maybe 2 meta perks. No, that's all 4, buddy. That's all 4. The only one that's kind of plausible denial is like Spine Chill. But even then, vault speed's really good. That's why I never take off resilience for that reason. I never take off resilience for that very reason.
And there's other survivor randoms we've been teamed up with who will sit there and they'll get that door open and they'll just teabag and wipe their sweaty nuts all over the floor and just look at you with the 2 middle fingers. And I hate that for you guys. I hate that they act that way.
But you're doing that. Like you run 4. You ran 4 slowdown. Or not 4 slowdown. God, brain. You're running 4 meta. You're running 4 meta perks. Besides doing the, as you eloquently put it, dragging your nuts on the floor and flipping them off, you are doing this to them, or you were. I don't know what builds you run nowadays, but back in the day, you definitely were running the meta. So, whoop.
Because that being done to you, and then you guys doing the camping and tunneling and all the other stuff, all this just back and forth, it's just a vicious cycle that'll just never end. And I hate that. I hate that the game has slowly turned into this and turned into that, turned into the sweatiness. It just sucks. Something else that I've seen over the years that I see people talk about, you know, is balance.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey man, let's, you know, if they would just balance this game, it'd be great. Man, I feel like if they would just turn this, or like nerf this or buff this, brother, the game would be more balanced. Guys, look, I'm not a huge PvP guy, you know, but in my eyes, PvP, it just PvP in general, it can't be balanced. It's impossible.
Not an ASIM.
And I'll tell you what I mean.
We can get it close, but we can never
If you
get it
take an
fully
example
in an ASIM.
Of like 1,000 players, if you want, just go ahead and say 1 million. If 900,000 out of that million player base says, oh, this game's balanced, it's good the way it is, but that remaining 100,000, at this point, you know, that'd only be 10%. That'd be just 10% of the player base. That 10% says,
Billy only
oh
had
man,
Tinker
no, that's not
by
balanced
itself.
to me, man. Like, see, I think this needs to be buffed, or I think
That Billy had Tinker by itself. And you and, you know, your group and the randoms you run with, you're running all meta. This person besides Bond, running all meta, Lost Boy. This person is running, I think that's small game. I'd have to squint. And then 3 meta perks. And then this person's running all meta besides Soul Guard. It's just not fully leveled up. You're saying you don't... You're saying you don't run this stuff, but your B-roll, you're all running this stuff. Making me do the rock eyebrow here. What is this then?
this needs to be nerfed or whatever. You know, well, it's not balanced. But then what are you guys going to say?
This is literally the killer strat right here. We want to talk about that since we always point that out. This is 3 meta perks and a funny perk. 3 meta perks, funny perk. 3 meta perks, funny perk. 3 meta perks, funny perk. What you killers have, right? Usually on killer, it's like Overbrine. The old days was Overbrine Eruption into Nowhere to Hide. Now it's like, you know, Pain Res, Jolt, and sometimes it's usually Cobb, Overcharge, and then like Pain Res or Jolt to accompany it, since people don't want to run Eruption anymore. And then it'll be like Stipiffle or something, you know, like a chase perk. Yeah, that's what killers like to run nowadays, is 3 meta perks and then a fun perk. You guys are doing the same thing. And you arguably are running 4 meta. Huh?
You got 900,000, you got 90% who says, yeah, man, it is balanced. They're just, that's 10%. They're nothing, man. Don't listen to them. They're idiots.
Keep in mind, this is in the Ruin Undying meta. So Soulguard is measurably better than it is now. Because there was almost a guarantee that there would be at least 2 totems on the map most matches. Unless they were like doing like Pop Corrupt. Which is weaker. So Soulguard was measurably better back then too.
They don't know what they're talking about. The game's balanced. Well, it's not to them. The game's not balanced to them. They don't think it. You think we should just ignore their opinion on the game being balanced? I mean, that ain't right. You don't want your opinion to be ignored. You know why should we ignore theirs? So my point right there is that as long as there's at least one player, one person who goes against the grain, who says, no, I don't agree. I think this needs to be nerfed. No, I don't agree.
No, there are people that think Pig needed to be nerfed and she's bottom 5 in the game. There are people that think Trapper has too much snowball and needs to be nerfed. Oh, what? I have met people that think that Survivor should have, like, literally no good perks ever. They're going against the grain. Should we listen to them?
Needs to be buffed. As long as there's one person who disagrees, it's not balanced. It's not balanced to them, even if you say it is.
Bureau match your point.
That's why I say PvP games cannot be balanced.
Exactly, Des. You're trying to make this like survivors, you know, are really like, we've been really put at a deficit, and killers have so much stuff, and it's so bullshit, and everything's so lame. And you have a match in your B-roll of you guys all running meta perks against a banana Tinkerer Billy, and that's his only perk is tier 1 Tinkerer with frosty eyes. And you're dunking on it. Like, I know he did well, thank God. But like, guys are like that B-roll is of you guys running all meta against a one perk yellow perk Andy in the background. Like, what?
You know, something else is that I see a lot of times. I'll see in
And he's still
when
3K.
new chapters are coming out.
He's still doing really good.
You get a look at a new killer, and I'll see a lot of people who will say, "Well, this killer, they can't just one shot right away. Their power sucks. It can't, you know, it can't sit there and just hardcore take down survivors real fast."
It's called power
and
creep.
immediately that killer is going to be dropped down to low bottom tier, useless. Guys, quit worrying about if the killer is going to be like an OP. Just look at what they can do and try it out and see if it's fun or not. That should be what you're looking for. It shouldn't be looking at, oh, I hope this killer is just God mode and I could just...
I wouldn't worry about... Why don't you run Dead Hard anymore then? You said you don't run Dead Hard anymore? You should stop worrying about Dead Hard being different and see that it's still pretty good in a lot of situations. And there's still a lot of unwinnable situations like at Pallets with Dead Hard that are very reminiscent of old Dead Hard. I feel like you should stop worrying so much of whether it's OP or not and still run it. See, when you don't have a philosophy, the things you say can be turned against you, and then your bias is ripped straight off. And that people can see very clearly it's only bias, right? If you don't have a consistent philosophy, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. It can and will be used against you, right? And if you turn it onto the other side and it makes no sense, you make no sense. If you can turn it, flip it on the other side, it makes no sense, you make no sense.
Stop a mud hole in their asses. That shouldn't be what you're looking at, man. You need to be looking at if it's going to be fun to play or not.
Should take your own advice.
Man, and then the last thing, and this is going to be it. You know, I'll quit and I'll get out of your ears so you guys can finally be like, thank God he shut up.
I'm not thinking that.
You know, I hear about gen rushing. You know, I've read about that, seen about it. It's been guys, look, gen rushing, that's not going away, man. It's never.
You guys should just worry about fun. But if you're worried about being gen rushed, yeah, just deal with it. What didn't he say, like not even like 5 minutes ago? It's not fun to just be, what did you say, f***ed in the ass by the killer running a bunch of strong stuff and playing super sweaty. Hey, if you hate gen rush, you just gotta deal with it. You just gotta deal with. Like it's literally like, if you would stop for a second, backtrack and wait, what did I just say? And read it aloud to yourself and apply it to the other end. You'd be like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. I hate the way killers sweat and how it doesn't really leave me a lot of room to play. It makes me feel sad. But gen rushing, y'all just gotta deal with that. That's never going away. Screw y'all. Literally nothing but the... Yeah, for me, but not for you. That's what I've heard for 40 minutes. All for me and not for you. That's... Oh my... Okay. All right. This is great. I'm having a good time. Like, unironically. This is fun.
It's worse in case if it's a 4-man swift. It's random, it's a little different. But if you have a 4-man swift, this is just my example. If you're on a decently sized map, you know, and you got a 4-man swift, and every one of them are decent, you know, and one or two of them's really good at chases.
Mm-hmm.
If one of them that's good at the chases goes and they grab you, and they pull you to a corner of the map, and they do their just to keep you there.
Ormond's a great example of a map
and
that
the other three get
on
on separate gens.
Yep, Ormond's a great example for this.
If you don't get off that survivor,
or Garden's a good example.
If you can't catch them in 30 or 40 seconds, if you do not get them and you don't leave them to go check on what else is going on, you know, for one, that's your own fault.
You're talking hyper-focused stakeout B&P. You're talking multiple proofs in a match. If I don't go across all of Ormond as, say, like, Clown or Myers, that's my fault? Brother, what if I'm Michael Myers, 115, most of the game I'm even slower, because I gotta get out of tier 1. You're telling me that if I go to, like, Ormond or Mother's Dwelling, and I get in a long chase with somebody because of a good setup, I'm supposed to go to the other side of the map and break up the proof, and I should realistically be able to do that. That's my own fault as a 115 or less killer without a movement ability? That's not even considering the info. Do I even know they're there? Because it's the beginning of the match, right? No movement ability to do so, so how am I getting there in time? That's my own fault? Oh, brother. Hi, Tess. This person, Braden, sent me in a video talking about the things he hates about the game right now. He thinks the game is very killer-sided, and this has been like the Survivor Manifesto, essentially, is the Survivor Manifesto of all things that are, like, you know, think of any like weird Survivor take, you'd be like, I don't think so. It's all here. This is like this is literally the Survivor rulebook, patented, nice little hard binding. It's nice. It's beautiful. It's here. It's crisp. New York Times bestseller. We're shipping them out on Amazon. You can get one. like great. It's fun. It's very fun to listen to.
And 2, those gens are gonna fly. If you're focusing so damn hard on trying to catch that one person and not taking
but that's the point of bringing proof or bringing hyperfocus stakeout, is the gens still go at the incredible speed at, like, you know, somebody's having a 30-40 second chase, right? And they down them, they hook them. Gen's already almost done, right? And if you walk one way or the other one gets finished, right? Because you can only be in one place at once. Even twins, the other guy's stationary, right? Well, when you're playing as Victor. That's the whole point of bringing those perks, is that, like, even with a quick and efficient chase, you still get the gen done. You can't just say it's your own fault.
Back and realizing this guy has kept me in this. He's kept me in the killer shack in this little corner of the map over here. He's kept me here for like a whole minute. They've done got 3 gens. What's going on, man? This ain't fair. They're gen rushing me. That's how it's gonna happen. You've got to play smarter to try to avoid that situation. But even if you do, you can only chase one person at a time.
I want to say that. I want to say
never
this.
Gonna go away.
I want to say this too. I really do want to say this too. Is that, like, a lot of people that are in the chat right there, like over on the right, they're not killer mains. They're Survivor mains. A lot of people prefer Survivor over there. A lot of people are going to be commenting down below when this hits YouTube. Well, I've talked to them before. They're Survivor mains too. I have Survivor main viewers. I have a lot of them. A lot of them are killer mains. But I have a lot of Survivor main viewers too. This isn't just like all killers against you. Like, even to people that play 50-50 or like mostly Survivor, they think this is funny too. Like, they think this is out there. This is really out there.
You've complained about it over and over and over again and say, I'm getting gen rushed. They're going to gen rush me. This ain't fun. This ain't fair. Guys, I'm sorry, but that's just not going away. You can keep tacking on another 10 seconds, another 10 seconds. You can keep adding more and more time to those gens to make them take longer and longer to get done. But if you don't play smart as a killer and try to stay bouncing around everybody and keep them off the gens, or you're not able to secure your chases and get that person down fast enough, it's gonna happen. That's something that's just, it's just gonna happen.
You spent like a big part of this little middle section of the video talking about all the BS stuff killers have, and hey, you didn't even really cover the good stuff the killer has. You just covered like aura perks. Should killers just, like, you know, should you just have to just deal with it? With their meta? Huh? With their meta that you hate? Should you just have to like, I don't get this. Like gen perks are some of the strongest perks in the game. Gen items are some of the strongest perks in the strongest items in the game. They're really, really good. Exhaustion perks, fantastic. Gen rush and gen rush items, very, very good. Like those are like the two things that survivors have that are really, really good. And you're just gonna tell people, yeah, just deal with it. Yeah, you're just gonna have to deal with that. Why is it that with killer stuff, you're like, this all needs to be taken away, and this is all bad? But with survivor stuff, it's like, you just need to deal with it. I don't get that.
You know, so gen rushing is not going to go away. You know, my group, I mean, we don't do that. We don't come in, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I said before with the other topic. You know, I can't speak for my other...
Yeah, you can't. Then stop. Then stop doing it. If you can't speak for the entire survivor base, then don't do it. Then do not do it. And the last thing you said, my group doesn't run meta perks. All of your B-roll has been running meta perks from 6.1. Since all these matches were recorded before 6.1, you're running all meta perks. And you said my group doesn't do that. My group doesn't run meta perks. There they are. They're right here. I'm looking at them. I've been looking at them for 40 minutes. You do. So did you stop? Or is this just like a long-term con and this isn't the truth? Or do you somehow not consider pre-6.1 Dead Hard, BT, Addy, and, you know, Spine Shield maybe? Spine Shield we could probably have a conversation about. But these three? Not meta? Not meta. You do. You do run meta. Your group does. So, and you know, let's see. Fix it? Right. So we're at 39.44, right? 39.44. Help me remember. I'm going to put this in the chat so I can remember. 39.44, right? 39.44. Let's go back to that endgame screen, because we know for a fact that Fix It is somebody that they queue with, because they've been in these matches. Let's see. Fix It is also running Unbreakable, Dead Hard, Addy, and then Soulguard, which was better back in the day. Your people do that. And if Lost Boy's with you, that's prove thyself. So yeah. You guys do run meta.
Needs to be bugged.
Do you have the end game for the demo? You do have the end game for the demo. Yeah, you guys are running meta here too. You guys do run meta. You do. Like, you can say that, oh, my group doesn't do that. Your B-roll has it. Your B-roll shows it. Your B-roll shows it. Your end game shows it. You do.
You don't come in, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I said before with the other topic. You know, I can't speak for my other survivors. I can't speak for the top tier survivors. All I can speak for is me and my personal friend group and the way that we play, and that we don't play sweaty. We don't play toxic. We don't come in with, yeah, we're gonna the hell out of this killer. We don't come in thinking that and planning that.
Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Look at the perks over here.
Man, you know, I'm almost done here.
Is that why you run all meta? Is because you just want to have fun? Is that why you run all meta? Because you just want to have fun? You don't want to win. You're not trying to sweat. You're just running the best that, you know, besides maybe Spine Chill, you're just running the best perks that were available at the time. Is that why your friend was doing it too? Because he was just trying to have fun by running the best possible perks at the time, besides like one. This is just for fun, right?
At the end of the day, guys, look, I don't want to sit here and just point the finger at killers and say, you guys suck.
You did, though. That's what you did.
That's not what all of I'm wanting to say. It's just...
But it is what you said, unfortunately.
Man, this has been in my head for a long time that I wanted to talk about. My friends that I've played the game with. I've even seen comments from other survivors who shared pretty close to the same sentiments or whatever. It's just, you guys, from what I've seen, you know, and I've said before, it's not every single killer out there. I'm not blaming every single one of you. There's some killers out there, a good chunk of them, who they just don't want to take a look in the mirror. And you need to. Because you're ruining the game for other people who may not be wanting to play the game like you're trying to go as hard or sweaty as you. You complained about something because you don't like to deal with it. I don't like that perk they got. Take it.
You mean like Awakened Awareness that has a 1.27% usage rate? Complaining about something you just don't want to deal with? You mean like Iron Maiden, who had a 4% usage rate? 4% across the entire player base. 1.27% for Awakened Awareness across the entire player base. 1.27%. Yeah, you're complaining about stuff to be taken away that not a lot of people use just for your own preference. You're doing what you say you're like, I hate that killers do this. You're doing it. You're doing it. You're doing the things that you hate that killers do. You're just doing it for Survivor so it doesn't click up here. You're doing the exact thing that you hate that killers do. You're just doing it for the Survivor side of the game so it doesn't occur to you that it's bad.
Get out. Nerf it. That pallet vacuum or whatever they're able to do over there, yeah, that ain't fair. That needs to be taken out. Like I said, some of them things, they did need to be taken out. My group agrees with that. But there are other things, and it's especially now, with more and more things that you guys have added with every time a new killer comes in, some of the new things that get added in and things that you guys are able to do. I feel like some of these things that we've had taken away from us in the past, not all, but I feel some of these things should be reverted to help us out. To maybe help the new survivors out. Guys, I just want to have fun. My group wants to have fun. We just got this game with the pure intention of just playing to have fun and just...
With the best perks every single match in your B-roll. Only for fun. Never for victory. You're right.
Just have a good, casual, fun time. That's all we wanted.
Just casual. We're just all running meta. And we didn't take him off for 3 sampled games of B-roll. But we're just playing for fun.
And the community, and this is Killers and Survivors both, have slowly twisted this game into something where for us, it's not fun. Matter of fact, the last few weeks, we've been talking about how they've been messing with the bots. Now you could go in and have Survivor bots in custom game. We've gotten to the point, and it sucks that it's gotten to this, but my group has gotten to the point where once they add killer bots in the custom match, we're probably just going to go over and play that. And you say, well, why would you play that? That's dumb. You guys are a bunch of no-skill losers. It's because, at least with that, we're not dealing with that sweatiness. We're not dealing with a lot of the toxic crap that we have to deal with now that has ruined the game for us. We can have fun again. Yeah, it may not. We may not be testing our skill. We may even lose skill playing against bots. But at the end of the day, it's not about trying to go hard.
Another 2-perk banana. Fix it. 3 meta perks and 4 technically if you count Windows meta, and then 4 meta perks again against a doctor with rank 1 spies and rank 1 unrealming presence. What? You guys don't run these perks though. I thought you guys didn't run meta. It's been what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4 matches? You run... Unless these were just very oddly picked matches. 4 matches in a row, you guys were running the strongest meta available at the time. And your B-roll is just absolutely stomping what look like inexperienced killers. For fun. You could have beat this guy with, you could have beat this guy with yellow perks. It's going to run all yellow perks and probably beat this guy. But you're, your B-roll is only you running meta and, on baby killers. But you're like, oh, I am a good guy, and I only play for fun, and I, you know, killers are the ones that are sweating. It looks like you sweat through all of these games. What you're saying and what you're doing are vastly different.
Win. Are you having fun or not? And right now, we're not having fun. Yeah, we may have a few moments here and there in the matches where you hear me laugh and we're kind of joking around, something funny happens or whatever, but you guys only get to see some of the stuff from time to time that happens like that. We have so many matches where it's just infuriating. It just drains the fun out of you. It's not the way it was. And for someone to say, I can have more fun playing bots than with people. Like, what the hell? Guys, I'm going to leave it at that. Anybody who stuck through this tremendously long rant of mine, I thank you for your time. I thank you for
You're welcome.
Sticking around to hear, you know, all my complaints and my whining, moaning and groaning. I'm going to continue to try to play the game and upload stuff, you know, maybe upload some funny clips from time to time. So if you want to come back and see any more of my stuff, you know, feel free to do it. If you want to just look at me, yeah, this dude's a dumb, get out of my face, and you never want to listen to me or look at my stuff again, that's fine. You know, I'm not a Twitch streamer. I'm not, you know, I'm not a big content creator. I don't do that. I don't want to do that. I just upload stuff that I find funny, and whenever we have a good match, I just try to upload that pretty much for my friends and for my family who want to watch it. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you for anybody who stuck around this long. You know, I hope you took something out of this. Maybe some knowledge about some.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like he's being dishonest. He just does, like, he is incredibly biased. Incredibly biased. About, incredibly.
You know? Thanks again.
Like, off the deep end.
I just
okay, so I'm gonna try to not counter rant because you've heard me the entire time. You are, complete honesty, complete fairness, you wanted me to give my honest reaction. You are one of the most entitled survivors I have ever met. Like you are, like, there were points in this video that people were suggesting that you were parodying. Like, this was a joke. Like he has to be kidding. You are one of the most entitled survivors I have ever seen. And this entire video was like a 40-minute manifesto of, like, survivor entitlement. And that's coming from somebody who plays 50-50. Like, I wouldn't want 95% of the things that you suggested in the game that you suggested in this video. I didn't agree with 95% of what you said. I think the main thing that you spent a lot of time in this video talking about how killers need to look themselves in the mirror and examine how they feel about the game. I feel like you should probably take your own advice. Because most of the things you say, if you tried to turn them around and apply them to the killer side, it would be completely unfair and mean and awful to deal with. Like, most of this changes and feelings that you suggest about how the game should be, if you had to deal with them, you'd probably not be happy. And if they had to deal with them, it wouldn't be fair. There's no philosophy here, and I've been saying that the whole video. It's like, you don't really have a philosophy. You had me at the beginning as like, I wish things only happen in this game if they're based on skill and rewarded skill. I'm like, okay, well, like, I can get with that. And then, like, you're like, well, barbecue sucks. And barbecue doesn't even go off unless you get a hook. So, like, okay, wait, do you not? And I want old Dead Hard back. And it's like, well, old Dead Hard didn't really take a whole lot of skill. Like, what are you talking about? I don't want to use new Dead Hard. That actually takes some level of skill. It's like, for the rest of the video, as long as it benefited Survivor and bashed Killer, it wasn't about skill anymore. And I only want it to benefit me if it's skill-based, if it's me. If the killer does something skillful and it gives them an effect or based on a perk, like, screw them. They should not have that. Downing somebody, picking them up with Awakened Awareness, bullshit. Hooking somebody to get barbecue, bullshit. Like, it's like, where's the philosophy here? So like, yeah, this isn't like this 45-minute video is a good example of like what every entitled survivor main dreams the game would be. But besides that entitled base, this sounds funny. This sounds ridiculous to other people. Which is fine. I mean, like, your voice still matters. I'm not saying your voice doesn't matter, but it's definitely not objectively anything that would be good for the game. And most of your ideas are deeply soaked and embedded in a specific bias towards one side, and they would objectively be bad changes for the game. Like, almost none of these would be good changes for the game, or good suggestions for the game. I do agree with you. The game is kind of going towards a sweatier environment, which is not great. It's a party game. It's an ASIM. It's not going to go well. If we continue on that train, I don't think, unless behavior makes some serious adjustments. But this was just kind of 45 minutes of like every survivor complaint I've ever heard. See something positive. I do appreciate that, like, this despite being a rant it was broken into very specific parts of like, hey, things that I dislike that were taken away, things that killers have that upset me, and then, you know, the state of the game in general. It's very well organized. Very, very well organized, despite being a rant. Yeah, essentially all you've done here is kind of just just kind of like summarize survivor entitlement, which is unfortunate. It was unfortunate. I think I always find it disappointing when people are this unwilling and unempathetic to see the other side. And I'm sure that's something that you've personally felt. Like, a lot of this is you talking about how it feels bad that killers don't get it. And killers do play so sweaty or play in ways that upset you and don't really care about your side. But you spent 45 minutes not caring about theirs either. Like, you may say, oh, I get what it's like when this happens. But, like, you really don't if you're suggesting all this stuff. That you can say, like, saying and doing are different. You can say, I get that it sucks when this happens, but that but is very important, right? You're saying, yeah, I understand your feelings, but I'm going to override them and they don't matter. I'm going to do this instead in spite of your feelings. And I feel like I said, if the changes you wanted to come to the game, I wouldn't play this game. I wouldn't play DBD in your world, in your version of the game. What else there is to say, yeah. Like, I appreciate you so much for sending this to me and making me go over it. Hopefully you got what you wanted out of it in terms of seeing, like, my take on it as somebody who is killer leaning, but kind of more 50-50 with the game, just in terms of play time nowadays. Hopefully it was fruitful to see my take on it. I think this is, either way, a very, very entertaining video, just in the sense that it is kind of, like I said, a manifesto for survival entitlement, and really does show where the head's at for some people that literally only care about one side and truly don't have enough empathy for the whole state of the game for all players, and kind of only favor one end. So it was a good experience either way, and I don't mean that facetiously in any condescending way. Yeah, so yeah, that's about how I feel about it, and I appreciate you sharing this with me. So yeah.